We've gotten some really interesting stuff from listeners lately, and it all kind of revolves around this idea.
hmm
What happens to the smart kids? The ones who always aced every test and everyone just assumed we're going to, like, take over the world.
It's a question that comes up a lot, and there's definitely something there.
Yeah, 'cause it almost feels like a cliche, right? The gifted kid who grows up and just doesn't quite hit those sky-high expectations.
Right. It's not that these people aren't smart anymore. It's more about how that smart label, which was like a superpower early on, can actually turn into this like unexpected burden.
I mean, that's what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah.
What happens to the smart kids?
Yeah.
Where does this disconnect come from? And most importantly, how do you deal with it if it's happening to you?
Exactly. We need to understand the why and the how.
Before we dive deeper, don't miss using our powerful anti-procrastination toolkits with 7 and more productivity tools all in one place. And for free, a notebook, projects manager with Kanban and subtasks, read later tool, accountability tool, habits tracker, Pomodoro timer, ambient sounds, and more. What is better than that to fight procrastination? Link in the description.
Okay, so let's start with this whole smart kid identity thing. It forms so early. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, kids are just figuring out who they are, right? What they like, what they're good at. And being smart becomes this like core part of who they are.
It's a powerful label, especially coming from adults. They look up to parents, teachers, and it gets reinforced constantly. Good grades, praise, everyone saying, oh, you're so smart.
And that just keeps building and building, right?
Exactly. It's a positive feedback loop. Every success reaffirms that smart label, and it becomes more central to their identity.
So at first it's great, right? School's easy, things just click for them. They don't even have to try that hard, at least not compared to their friends. It's like a superpower, like you said.
Absolutely. Effortless success.
But there's a flip side to that, isn't there?
There is, because think about the kind of praise these kids usually get. It's often for their natural ability, for how quickly they understand things, not necessarily for hard work or perseverance.
Well, that's interesting. So it's almost like they're being rewarded for not having to struggle.
In a way, yes, which can lead to this kind of dangerous idea. If I'm really smart, things should be easy for me.
So when they do hit a wall, and we all do at some point, how does that affect them?
Well, instead of it being just a challenge, like an obstacle to overcome, it becomes this huge identity crisis. If they're smart, things shouldn't be hard, right?
Right.
So struggling can feel like proof that they're not actually smart, which is a terrifying thought when that's been your whole identity.
Okay, so what happens next? Do they just, like, avoid anything that might expose them?
Often, yes. They become incredibly risk averse. They might not raise their hand in class unless they're absolutely sure they have the right answer.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Like always needing to be the smartest person in the room.
Exactly. They might shy away from new hobbies or activities where they might not excel immediately. You know, things that could involve a steep learning curve.
So basically they start narrowing their world to only include things they know they'll be good at.
It's a shrinking comfort zone, yeah.
R-
While their peers are out there trying and failing and learning from those experiences, the smart kid is stuck in this loop of needing to maintain that image of effortless success.
And that has to affect their social lives too, right?
Right.
I mean, so much of connecting with people is about shared experiences, going through challenges together, figuring things out as a team.
That's a huge part of it. Think about it. You bond with people through vulnerability, through working through tough stuff together, whether it's a school project or a personal problem or whatever.
Right.
But if you're always trying to appear effortlessly brilliant, you're shutting yourself off from those opportunities to connect authentically.
You're not really letting anyone see the real you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the transcript mentions this interesting coping mechanism, using intelligence to try to, like, logically understand people.
Yeah, almost like trying to hack human interaction.
Right. It's called cognitive empathy, where you can intellectually understand someone's emotions, but you're not actually feeling those emotions with them.
Oh, so it's more like analyzing them from a distance than actually connecting.
Exactly. And that's exhausting, constantly having to calculate everything. It prevents you from really being present with someone.
It also sounds like it could lead to even more social avoidance, right? If you're so worried about saying or doing the wrong thing.
It can. And then on top of that, they try to apply that same logic to their own emotional struggles.
It's like trying to think their way out of feeling sad or insecure.
Exactly. As if there's some equation they can solve to make those feelings disappear. But intelligence, as powerful as it is, isn't really the right tool for dealing with those kinds of internal issues.
No, it's more about, like, external problem solving, understanding how the world works.
Mhm.
It can't really answer those deep emotional questions like, am I enough?
And for people who've always defined themselves by their intellect, those questions can be really difficult to face. They haven't necessarily developed the tools to deal with those kinds of emotional challenges.
So what happens then? Does it just keep building up inside?
It can. And sometimes the ego steps in with what the transcript calls defensive arrogance.
So instead of facing those uncomfortable feelings, it's like they create this whole other persona to protect themselves.
Right, a sort of defense mechanism. It's like, if I'm feeling lonely or left out, it must be because I'm just different, smarter, more evolved than everyone else.
Oh, so it's like a way of explaining away those feelings without having to actually confront them.
Exactly. It's a way to maintain that sense of superiority, even though it's ultimately isolating. Because real connection requires the opposite of
And
that.
vulnerability and humility and all the things that defensive arrogance is trying to protect against.
Right. So the key to breaking free from this pattern is to let go of that smart kid identity as the only source of self-worth. But that's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been their whole world for so long. How do you even begin to shift that?
It starts with recognizing that intelligence isn't the problem. It's a wonderful thing, obviously, but it becomes a problem when it's the only thing you value about yourself. Because then you're terrified of anything that might challenge that image.
Like failing or making mistakes or just not knowing something immediately.
Exactly. So you end up avoiding anything that might expose those perceived flaws, which limits your growth and prevents you from forming genuine connections.
And the transcript even talks about how this can lead to self-sabotage, right? Like subconsciously holding yourself back to maintain that illusion of effortless success.
Exactly. Which is why the shift needs to be towards a new identity, one that's not about being smart, but about being willing to learn and grow regardless of the outcome.
Oh, that's so important. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to try, to make mistakes, to put in the effort.
Exactly. It's about being open to new experiences, even if you might not be good at them right away.
And that's how you build resilience and confidence and all those things that help you navigate life's challenges.
It's about valuing the process of learning over the outcome.
And that has to be a lot more freeing than constantly trying to maintain this facade of perfection.
Absolutely. It allows you to embrace being human with all its messiness and imperfections.
And to connect with others on a deeper level, because you're not hiding behind this wall of smartness anymore.
Exactly. And the great thing is, once you start letting go of that need to be the smartest person in the room, you actually free yourself up to learn and grow in ways you never imagined.
So for anyone listening who's feeling stuck or disconnected, especially if you relate to this whole smart kid experience, what would you say is the most important takeaway?
I think it's about recognizing that you're not alone in this. So many people struggle with these same feelings, and the key to moving forward is to let go of that need to be impressive and just focus on being real, because that's where the true connections are made.
And it's not about dumbing yourself down or pretending you're not intelligent. It's about recognizing that intelligence is just one part of who you are, not the whole thing.
Right, and it's about valuing all the other parts of yourself too, the parts that might not always be perfect or polished, but that make you unique and interesting and worth connecting with.
So to wrap things up, what's one thing our listeners can do, like right now, to start putting these ideas into practice?
I'd say, think about one area of your life where you've been holding back. Maybe it's a hobby you've always wanted to try or a skill you'd like to learn, but you've been too afraid to even start because you're worried about not being good at it right away.
Right.
What would it feel like to just dive in, to embrace the learning process, even if it means being a beginner, making mistakes, looking silly?
It might be uncomfortable at first, but it could also be the key to unlocking a whole new side of yourself.
Exactly. And who knows, you might even discover hidden talents or passions you never knew you had.